Hey guys, Rumblin Man here today, coming to you from Florida. Hope you're doing well out there. And you may say, but why, Rumblin Man? Why are you coming to me from Florida today? And I'm just coming to you from Florida to talk about strings. I want to talk to you about these Elixir Optiweb strings. It's interesting, and I've got a short story to tell you. I recently went on a bit of a journey to try to figure out what my favorite electric guitar strings are, because I've already figured out what my favorite acoustic strings are, still kind of figuring out what my favorite bass strings are, and I thought, you know, should I just continue to use the strings that I grew up using, or should I actually try everything that's out there and figure out what electric guitar strings I like best for myself? And I haven't reached the conclusion yet. I'm still trying a couple things, and I still am yet to discover what are my favorite guitar strings. I don't really know, but I'm getting close. In fact, I've narrowed the search down to 3 options, and I won't say what models yet because I haven't decided. And the strings I have on the telly right now are Elixir's, a custom light, which to me turned out to be too light because I've had some tuning issues and things like that. Of course, a lot of things can cause tuning issues, but I did notice, you know, with sets of strings that I had on the guitar before I put the Elixirs on, I don't think I was having tuning issues quite as bad. I think that I needed to thicken it up to the point at which I am about to put on some strings that are not a custom light gauge, but just a light gauge. And at the end of the day, maybe I need a medium gauge, I don't know. I've just always been a light gauge kind of guy in pretty much all the strings I use. Don't ask, don't tell. I do some string bends and stuff. I don't know. Let me know what your favorite sets of electric guitar strings and bass strings are. All that to say this, I'm very interested to try these Optiweb Elixir strings because they could win as my favorite string, because the Elixirs that I have on the telly right now, I took them out of the package and was immediately impressed in the quality that I could feel, and they were very nice on my guitar. I did notice, however, you know, these custom lights, that there was a little corrosion on one of the strings, just getting worn out within only a month or so of having them on the guitar. So I would assume that these nickel-plated steel strings are great feeling strings and have that bright steel string sound to them. I'm applying some Big Ben's nut sauce, and what this is a lubricant, and it's supposed to improve tuning, it's supposed to improve string life, it's supposed to improve a lot of things. And I will say, in my experience using this, I have seen it work pretty well. I haven't seen it make tuning issues completely go away with guitars, but I have seen it take my Strat from being unplayable because of tuning issues to being able to hold up for a 3-song segment of a worship night. I've applied it to my Telecaster once before, but because I've had some tuning issues lately with the guitar getting out of tune on Sunday mornings when I'm leading worship, I've decided to go on and apply it again this time when changing strings. I don't think these tuning issues I've been having are related to the guitar whatsoever. The guitar came with a great setup. I haven't really changed any of the parts because they're all great. I think it's more of a situation of strings, maybe a situation of extreme temperatures. And another thing that could contribute to that is that these American Special Telecasters, they don't come with the best nut in the world. Synthetic bone, and most people will tell you that a bone nut is going to be better. So honestly, if I were to change out the nut on this guitar, a lot of those issues would probably be eliminated. But I've got some excellent brass saddles on it. It's really a wonderful, high quality, well-made, great to play, great sounding instrument. But until the day that I can get a bone nut or something better than the synthetic bone, I think applying some Big Ben's nut sauce to the nut as well as the bridge saddles is going to help me out. I also usually apply a little bit under this string tree. What are the most beneficial ways of taking care of your instrument? I am on a learning spree with this stuff. So if you have any knowledge in this area, I would love to hear what your experience is as well. Oh, another thing worth sharing about the nut sauce that I just read is this. They say it is not recommended applying nut sauce before stringing the guitar. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to thread the strings onto the guitar. They're going to be detuned, and then lifting them up and applying the nut sauce under them. Let's get her done, as they say north of here in the South. And for the nut, I'm going to be using the smaller of the 2 brushes. Lift up each string and put some in there. At the brass saddles, I'm going to use a slightly larger brush here, which I imagine is for bass. But yeah, so down here at the saddles, I'm just going to lift up a string. I'm going to throw some on there. Just going to rub a touch of it where the string slides through. So, believe it or not, I think this will actually really help with tuning. Liking it so far. All right, so it is the next day, and you may say, well, how did it go at the rehearsal with the band last night? And it went absolutely great. I had no tuning issues, and it's still almost in tune right now after sitting in its case in my office all night. So right after I put the strings on yesterday, I did have to tune a few times, and then when I conducted my own sound check, which you saw a clip of, you know, I tuned it some then. But then when it actually came rehearsal time last night, I tuned right before rehearsal, and then I tuned one time during rehearsal, and I had no tuning issues other than that. And so far, I like the Optiweb so much better. It's interesting because the feeling of it, it has a very nice feel to it, but it doesn't jump out at you and scream coated string. I mean, the G string feels like a coated G string, but the rest of the strings, if I were just playing on these one day and didn't know what they were, for all I would know, they'd be uncoated strings. They certainly have a great feel to them. They have a great brightness to them, but I've noticed they're not too bright. I've played some strings that were too warm, and I've played some strings that were too bright. So that you can hear how the guitar sounds with the Optiweb Elixir strings on them, I'll plug in real quick and play a little bit, just so you can kind of hear. You've probably heard this guitar in other videos of mine, but just so you can kind of hear what it sounds like with these particular strings. All right, so this is both pickups. Let's hear it on the neck pickup. So now let's turn on a little overdrive and play with the bridge pickup. So you can hear that the tone of these strings has a really excellent balance to it. It's got a great brightness, it's got a great mid-range, and a great bass response as well. I really like these strings, and this will be my first time to play with the Optiwebs, and I'll be using them in worship this Sunday, and I'm sure I'll get a lot of use out of them, and then hopefully I'll make another video at some point letting you know what I've thought about them long term. But so far, I gotta tell you, I'm very impressed with these strings. I'm impressed with the way they feel, I'm impressed with the way they sound, and so far I really like them a lot. And the Big Ben's nut sauce, all I know is last week my guitar wasn't holding in tune as good as usual, and this week it is. Is it the strings? Is it the lubricant? I don't know. Is it a combination thereof? I'm not sure. But I certainly recommend getting some Big Ben's nut sauce, trying it out on your guitar, and I also recommend trying out some Optiweb Elixir strings. Hey, as always, God bless you guys, and thanks so much for tuning in today. Strings among guitar players is a very controversial topic, online arguments about strings. But I really think if we can, instead of talking about our differences with strings, I think if we can actually civilly discuss, hey, why have these strings worked for you, these haven't worked for me, here's why, etc., then we can all come to a better understanding of why different strings work for different players. Furthermore, maybe we can be exposed to strings we haven't tried yet that might be able to work for us really well. So if you have comments about these strings or your favorite strings, like I mentioned earlier, go on and comment away. Until the next video, take care.